These next few weeks, we're going to be discussing community signs. And so today's lesson begins with a primer on outdoor community signs. So, what are community signs in general? Well, community signs themselves are environmental symbols that indicate the rules or behavioral expectations of a given area. And so outdoor community signs are simply symbols that are located outside in the community, in which commonly relate to the themes of driving rules, pedestrian rules, so if you're walking, safety warnings, and nearby locations. Okay, so as you can see in this little diagram on the bottom left-hand corner, it lists just a few community signs. So oftentimes community signs are literal signs that you'll see posted in different areas. Sometimes they will be symbols that are located on packages or located, on houses, in open areas. So yes, community signs are both symbols and actual signs, okay? And they're often posted in plain sight using bright colors and easy to identify symbols, which may or may not include words, right? Some of the pictures, as you can see, include actual words, especially those that indicate warnings, whereas others are just symbols. And so you need to practice, right? You need to teach yourself what these community signs mean, because oftentimes they help us to follow the rules in a given area. They help us to stay safe, right? They tell us what's located nearby. So yes, we're going to do some explicit instruction on what these community signs are. So here's just a few more community signs. A lot of these you'll encounter in your neighborhoods and maybe, like nearby school areas. If you're driving, they'll be on the roadways, right? Whether you're driving on local roads or on the highway. So these are always helpful to learn. Okay, so we're going to learn about 5 to 6 common driving community signs, okay? So the first one is, this sign means we must come to a full stop before driving on. We need to check both ways. And that, of course, is a stop sign. It is red. It uses the actual word stop. And so when you see this and you are driving, it literally means that you need to stop, okay? So you come to a full stop. You check both ways. This is often located at intersections where cars are driving different directions. And so we stop, we assess our surroundings, make sure there's no pedestrians, and then we can continue on in our, our direction that we're going in. All right, this sign right here means to look for pedestrians who may be crossing the street near a school. This itself is a school ahead sign. So if you're driving and you notice a yellow sign that has both what looks to be a man and a woman with briefcases, this means that there is a school nearby and that you need to be on the lookout for pedestrians or people who may be walking across the street to get to the school. So where my parents live, they live right next to an elementary school. And so I see these signs. And no matter what time of day it is, whether it's in the morning, whether it's a weekend, whether it's in the evening, I just always make sure to proceed with caution and to drive slowly, just because there is usually heightened traffic near school zones. Okay, the next community sign says, this sign means we cannot go in this direction. We cannot enter for our safety. What do you guys think that'll look like? It's a do not enter sign, okay? So when you're driving and you see this, it oftentimes means that we can't enter because traffic is going the opposite direction, okay? So say that you are trying to go on to the freeway on-ramp or the off-ramp. If you see this sign, it means that you cannot take that ramp. In all likelihood, traffic is going the opposite direction. So instead of traffic going through, they are coming, towards you. So please be very careful when you see this sign when you are driving, so that you don't accidentally, get into a car accident, that you don't hit anyone, or accidentally proceed on the wrong way, because you can get a ticket for that, and it's just dangerous in general. Okay, the next sign means there is a railroad crossing. It is important to look both ways and proceed with caution. When we say proceed with caution, that means drive slowly and carefully. Just be aware of your surroundings. It is, of course, a yellow and black railroad crossing sign. So this sign has what appears to be like an X shape on either side. The right and left of the X, there is an R and R, which stands for railroad. Okay, so when you see this sign, it means that there's a railroad crossing ahead. And, just to be careful, oftentimes, again, barriers will come down when a train is coming on the railroad. However, it is always important to just be cautious and to look both ways. This sign, it means we must be cautious and look for bicycle riders in our vehicle's blind spot, typically on our right side. Yes, it is the bike lane, okay? The bike lane, when you are driving, it'll be clearly marked. It will sometimes be on the right side of us. Sometimes it might, if you're taking a turn, it might swerve over so that it's left of your vehicle. It is marked by white lines, and it oftentimes has like an actual bicycle symbol. So when you see this sign, yellow and black, that says bike lane with a bike, just be cautious and know that there are bicycle riders or bicyclists nearby. And so they can, not come out of nowhere, but some of them who are riding fast, just be very careful, check your blind spot. That means look over your shoulder behind you instead of relying on your side view mirrors to make sure that you do not hit a cyclist and that you are cautious of them when they're moving. And the last one, this sign, of course, indicates the maximum speed or how fast we can drive in a given area. Going over this posted sign means we can result in getting a ticket. We get fined money, and we don't want that, right? It's, of course, the speed limit. Okay, the speed limit varies depending upon where you're at. Typically in neighborhoods and school zones, it's about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Mostly if you're driving on local roads, it'll be 35 to 40. If you're driving on the freeway, the speed limit is usually 65 to 70, okay? And so just because it's posted the maximum speed on the freeway, oftentimes you go with the speed of traffic. So if traffic is driving slower, then of course you have to drive slower so that you don't hit a vehicle. And if traffic is moving at a faster pace, that's all right. You can always move over to the slower lane, which is the rightmost lane, so that you don't feel rushed to go faster than the posted speed limit. All right, let's talk about 5 pedestrian or walking community signs. So these are signs that we might see when we're walking and that tell us the rules of when and where to walk. So the first one is a sign that means it is okay or safe to cross the street. It is usually accompanied by a loud beeping sound, and this is to help people who are visually impaired. It is the walk sign, okay? If you are crossing the street, oftentimes there will be an electric sign, and when it lights up such that a white person figure is walking and you hear that loud noise, that means it is okay to proceed. However, anytime you are crossing the street, especially in a busy area, make sure that you look both ways. Oftentimes cars are also turning at the intersection to go right. And so you want to make sure that you make, hopefully that you make eye contact with the driver and there's an understanding of, hey, I'm walking, I have the right of way, okay? And so no matter what, if you see the sign, you do have the right of way. And so if you were to get into an accident, you would be in the clear. The driver would be at fault because you were allowed to cross, and technically pedestrians have the right of way in the state of California. The next sign is the opposite. It means it is not okay to cross. It's not safe. The street when you see this sign. Crossing when this sign is displayed can actually result in getting a ticket. It's called jaywalking. And it, of course, is the do not walk sign, okay? It is a red hand. This red hand means stop. You need to wait until it is your turn. Wait until the white figure illuminates on the screen and you hear the beeping sound. That means it's okay to cross. The red hand means, sorry, you have to wait. Okay. The following sign means that it is not okay to enter the area ahead. It might be private property or otherwise unsafe to enter. Doing so is against the law. You might have guessed. Similar to a do not enter sign, this is a keep out sign. So if I'm walking and I see a really pretty field, but on the fence it has this red sign that says keep out, unfortunately, it means that we cannot enter. Doing so might result in us getting fined. It also might simply be unsafe. Okay, there might be some hazards ahead. Maybe there are animals in the area that unfortunately we don't want to, tangle with because we're not prepared to, and you don't know if the animals themselves have sicknesses or anything like that. So when you see this sign, just keep on walking your merry way. Do not enter, just keep on going. The next sign means that this area is a designated or legal spot for crossing the street. One must still look both ways to make sure it is safe to cross the street. This is the pedestrian walking sign. I apologize. All of those beeps you hear are work emails that I am getting. So yes, when you see this sign, it means that this is a designated area for crossing the street. This is typically in neighborhoods where you won't have the stoplights, and therefore you won't have the automated or electronic crossing the street signs. However, when you see this sign, still look both ways. I would say especially when you see this sign, look both ways, because sometimes people unfortunately drive faster than they should in neighborhood areas. And so you want to make sure that you don't just cross the street blindly, that you are looking both ways, and that if a speeding vehicle comes out of nowhere, that you are prepared for it, and you let them, drive through first, and then you cross the street. The very last one is a sign that means this area is designated specifically for bicycle riders, and it's unsafe to walk in the same area in order to avoid getting hit by someone riding their bike. And it is the bike lane. Much like for driving, if we see this sign when we are walking, it means we probably shouldn't be walking in this area. Okay, even if it's empty and you don't see any cyclists, around you, people who are riding their bike can ride pretty fast. And so we don't want to get clipped or hit by someone on their bike, because you can still get injured pretty badly, even though it's not a vehicle, it's a bike, right? And we, of course, don't want to injure other people. So best rule of thumb is when you see this sign and you see this area marked typically it'll be part of the asphalt, part of the actual roadway, then just stay out of it, okay? If you're running and you feel more comfortable running on asphalt, which Miss Morris does, I totally get that. Just make sure that you aren't running in the bike lane, okay? Or if you are running, that you're running on the other side of the bike lane, so the area closest to the sidewalk. That is also very helpful. So these are just a few community signs that you might encounter when you are driving or walking. It is by no means exhaustive, and I highly encourage you the next time you are out and about in your community to look and see if you notice these signs, and try and recall what these signs mean. What are the behavioral expectations or rules that are indicated when you see these signs?